The rain drizzled softly against the window of my Portland apartment, a familiar yet unwelcome soundtrack to my thoughts. I sat at the kitchen table, a half-empty cup of coffee cooling beside me, its bitterness echoing the taste of my marriage. At 47, I found myself lost in a life that had become monotonous, each day blending into the next with little distinction. My husband, Tom, had retreated into his own world, engrossed in work and his hobbies. The distance between us felt like an unbridgeable chasm. I glanced around the room, taking in the art on the walls, pieces I had chosen to reflect our shared life. Now they felt like relics of a past that no longer existed. The vibrant colors seemed dull under the weight of my discontent. I longed for connection, for someone to see me beyond the roles of wife and mother. Perhaps it was time to reach out for help. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts, hesitating before landing on 3 names, men who had always been friendly but never crossed any lines. Mark was a colleague from work who always seemed to know how to make me laugh during stressful meetings. Alex was my best friend's husband. We shared a comfortable camaraderie that occasionally turned into deep conversations about life and dreams. Lastly, there was David, an old friend from college whose charm had faded into a distant memory but whose presence still lingered in my mind. With a deep breath, I sent out messages to all 3 men. Can we meet? I need someone to talk to. The words felt heavy as they left my fingertips, yet there was a flicker of hope nestled within the uncertainty. The next day unfolded like an unexpected gift. Mark responded almost immediately and suggested meeting at a cafe in the Pearl District, a lively spot filled with art galleries and eclectic shops. As I walked there, the scent of fresh pastries wafted through the air, mingling with the aroma of coffee from nearby vendors. It felt invigorating to step outside my routine. Mark greeted me with his usual warmth as we settled into a corner table adorned with mismatched chairs and colorful artwork on the walls. We chatted about work and life's little absurdities. Laughter bubbled between us like a refreshing stream. For those brief moments, I felt seen again, as if all my worries melted away in his presence. The conversation shifted when he asked about Tom. "How's your husband?" he inquired casually, but there was an intensity behind his gaze that made me pause. "He's busy," I replied carefully. "We've both been so caught up in our own worlds." Mark nodded knowingly but didn't press further. Instead, he leaned back in his chair and smiled softly. "You deserve more than just busy." His words lingered long after our meeting ended. They echoed in my mind as I walked home through Washington Park's lush greenery, the scent of blooming flowers filling the air like sweet promises waiting to be fulfilled. That evening brought another surprise when Alex texted me out of nowhere. "Want to grab dinner tomorrow? Just us." My heart raced at the thought. It felt both thrilling and terrifying to contemplate spending time alone with him. Dinner unfolded at a cozy Italian restaurant tucked away from prying eyes. The atmosphere was warm and intimate. Candlelight flickered between us as we shared stories over plates of pasta and glasses of wine. Alex's laughter resonated deeply within me. It reminded me of carefree days spent together before life had pulled us down different paths. As dessert arrived, a decadent tiramisu, I found myself opening up about my feelings for the first time in years. "I just want something more," I confessed hesitantly. He leaned closer, his expression sincere yet cautious. "What do you mean by more?" "More connection," I admitted quietly. "More joy." His eyes sparkled with understanding. It felt as if he could see right through me, past the facade of a content wife into my yearning soul. Yet amidst this newfound connection came an unsettling realization. Alex was married to my best friend, a woman who had been by my side through thick and thin for over 2 decades. Guilt gnawed at me as our conversation deepened. It twisted around us like smoke from extinguished candles. When David reached out later that week proposing we meet for drinks at a local bar known for its craft cocktails, I hesitated only briefly before accepting, curiosity outweighing caution once again. As we settled onto bar stools surrounded by laughter and music from live bands playing nearby, David's easy charm enveloped me like an old blanket, familiar yet strangely comforting after so many years apart. "Life treating you well?" he asked casually while ordering us both another round, a gesture that felt indulgent yet innocent enough given our history as friends rather than anything more complicated. I shrugged lightly but couldn't hide how much his presence stirred something within me, a longing for connection that transcended friendship alone. "Not really," I replied honestly after taking a sip from my glass, a bold move considering how little time had passed since reaching out to these men seeking solace amidst chaos. David leaned closer again. There was something unspoken hanging between us, a tension charged with possibilities neither dared acknowledge aloud yet both sensed nonetheless. "Wanting more is okay," he murmured softly after some silence stretched between us like taut strings ready to snap at any moment should one wrong word be spoken aloud. And suddenly everything shifted beneath me once more as realization dawned upon both our faces simultaneously. This wasn't just about friendship anymore, it was about choices made along paths diverging wildly from what once seemed certain before now. The night wore on until eventually parting ways became inevitable, but not without lingering glances exchanged filled with unvoiced questions left hanging heavy in air around us like unfulfilled promises waiting patiently for answers long overdue. Returning home late that night brought no comfort either. Instead, darkness wrapped itself tightly around every thought racing through my mind, all those whispers echoing louder than ever before reminding me how far removed reality felt compared against desires bubbling beneath surface begging acknowledgement even amidst fears lurking nearby threatening everything familiar should choices shift unexpectedly again. And still tomorrow beckoned brightly ahead filled with uncertainty promising new encounters waiting just beyond horizon. The next morning, the sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting stripes across my bedroom. I blinked awake, the remnants of last night's laughter still echoing in my mind. The festival had been a whirlwind of colors and sounds, a stark contrast to the monotony of my daily life. I had forgotten how liberating it felt to laugh, to engage in playful banter with others. But as those memories replayed, a familiar weight settled on my chest, guilt. I glanced at my phone, half expecting messages from one of the men I had met. Instead, there was silence. A part of me longed for that connection, for someone to reach out and remind me I was more than just a wife and mother lost in routine. Yet another part cautioned against it, whispering about boundaries and consequences. The day passed slowly as I navigated through mundane chores. The laundry needed folding, dishes piled up in the sink, the usual domestic landscape that felt increasingly suffocating. Each task reminded me of how disconnected I had become from my own life. After dinner, with my husband engrossed in a game on television, I slipped outside onto our porch to breathe. Portland's evening air was crisp and invigorating. The city buzzed with life around me, laughter floated from nearby homes while streetlights flickered on against the twilight sky. I closed my eyes for a moment and imagined myself somewhere else, a lively cafe filled with art and conversation or perhaps walking hand in hand with someone who truly saw me. Later that week, I found myself at Washington Park again, seeking solace among the trees. As I wandered along the paths lined with blooming flowers, thoughts of last weekend flooded back. The laughter shared with those three men felt like an awakening. My heart raced at the memory of playful teasing when one of them, Mark, had jokingly challenged me to a race down a grassy hill. We kissed then, it was unexpected and electric but overshadowed by immediate guilt. A rustling noise pulled me from my reverie as I spotted Mark approaching from a distance. His presence sent a jolt through me. I hadn't anticipated seeing him here today. "Fancy meeting you here," he said casually as he neared. "Just enjoying some fresh air," I replied, attempting to sound nonchalant despite my racing heart. We fell into step beside each other along the path. A comfortable silence enveloped us before he broke it. "I've been thinking about that day at the festival," he admitted, glancing sideways at me. "Me too," I confessed quietly. His expression shifted slightly, curiosity mingled with something deeper that made my stomach flutter uncomfortably. "You seemed alive." "Alive?" The word hung between us like an invitation and a warning all at once. "Yeah," he said softly, "like you were free for a moment." I looked away toward the blooming cherry blossoms lining our path. Their beauty was undeniable but also fleeting, a reminder of how easily things could change. "I don't know what this is," I finally said, breaking our gaze as doubt crept back in. "It's just friendship," he replied quickly, but his tone suggested otherwise. A hint of something more lingered beneath his words. The conversation shifted toward lighter topics as we walked further into the park. We shared stories about our lives, his work struggles mirrored mine in many ways, and laughter came easier than it had in years. Yet underneath it all lay an unspoken tension that neither acknowledged directly but felt palpable nonetheless. As dusk settled around us, we paused by a small pond reflecting shimmering stars above us, a tranquil moment that felt charged with possibility. Mark's gaze lingered on mine longer than necessary, his breath hitched slightly as if contemplating crossing an invisible line drawn in sand between us. "I should get going," I murmured reluctantly after several moments stretched into silence filled only by distant city sounds surrounding us both like an embrace too tight yet comforting all at once. "Can we meet again?" he asked suddenly. A plea hidden within casual words that struck deep within me unexpectedly hard enough to make my heart race anew despite its earlier reluctance against such connections forming unexpectedly now threatening everything familiar around me once more. "Sure," I replied without thinking fully through what those words meant any more than before when they first slipped out so easily without hesitation anymore either way. Days turned into weeks filled with stolen moments, brief exchanges during lunch breaks or casual meetups after work, all underpinned by an exhilarating sense of danger mixed with fear lurking just beneath surface emotions threatening everything familiar should choices shift unexpectedly again. Each encounter deepened our bond yet also heightened internal conflict raging within me about loyalty versus desire. Every laugh shared echoed louder against walls built around heart long ago now starting to crack ever so slightly revealing glimpses into something deeper waiting patiently just beyond reach. Then came another festival. A local art fair showcasing vibrant works by local artists lining streets filled with people enjoying summer warmth together side by side beneath golden sun illuminating everything around them like magic itself woven through air thick enough almost taste excitement. Mingling freely amongst crowds swirling around us both too close yet still far away enough not quite touching yet either way. Mark found me amidst throngs wandering through stalls displaying paintings bursting forth colors reminiscent of emotions stirring inside yearning desperately for release somehow even if only fleetingly while standing next him feeling weightlessness lift burdens off. Shoulders momentarily granting respite amidst chaos surrounding us both pulling gently closer together until finally breaking barriers down between us entirely leaving nothing left untouched anymore either way. As evening fell upon festival grounds ablaze under twinkling lights strung overhead creating atmosphere alive buzzing excitement pulsing through veins coursing wildly alongside newfound connection blossoming between two souls searching desperately seeking solace away from lives lived too quietly now yearning more than ever before amidst chaos swirling around them both. And then there it was again, the moment we kissed. Softly yet fervently beneath canvas sky painted bright hues swirling together illuminating everything surrounding us both transforming ordinary night into something extraordinary where time stood still suspended forever caught between breaths shared lingering near. Lips brushing softly together igniting sparks flying high above leaving behind nothing but echoes resonating deep within hearts longing desperately seeking answers hidden somewhere lost. Amongst shadows cast across paths chosen long ago now leading somewhere new entirely unknown yet beckoning brightly ahead promising adventure awaiting just beyond horizon. The park was alive with the sounds of laughter and the rustling of leaves, yet I felt a strange stillness enveloping us as we walked side by side. The conversation had shifted from light banter to something deeper, as if the very air around us demanded honesty. I couldn't shake the feeling that this moment could change everything. Do you ever think about what you want? He asked, his gaze steady on mine. The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken truths. I hesitated, searching for the right words amidst the whirlpool of emotions swirling inside me. I used to think I knew, I replied finally, my voice barely above a whisper. But now, everything feels so uncertain. He nodded slowly, his expression one of understanding mixed with an intensity that made my heart race. I get that. Sometimes it's hard to see beyond what we've always known. As we strolled through the park, memories flooded my mind, the laughter shared over coffee dates, the stolen glances during mutual gatherings, and now this moment where vulnerability hung between us like a fragile thread. Each step felt like a dance on the edge of something profound yet frightening. What would you change if you could? He pressed gently, his eyes searching mine for answers. I paused beneath a sprawling oak tree, its branches casting dappled shadows on our faces. I wish I could feel alive again, I confessed. I want more than just routine. More than what my life has become. His response was immediate and unexpected. He stepped closer, bridging the space between us until our breaths mingled in the cool evening air. You deserve that, he murmured softly before leaning in slightly. In that moment, our lips met, tentative yet electric, each heartbeat echoing loudly in my ears as I grappled with the weight of betrayal and desire simultaneously. The kiss was not just an escape but a revelation. It stirred feelings long buried beneath layers of complacency and fear. We pulled away slowly, both startled by what had just transpired yet unwilling to dismiss its significance. Silence enveloped us again as we stood there under the watchful gaze of nature surrounding us, a sanctuary that felt both safe and perilous. What do we do now? I asked quietly, my heart racing with uncertainty. He took a breath as if gathering his thoughts carefully before speaking. We need to figure out what this means for both of us. The gravity of his words settled heavily between us. The risk of betrayal loomed larger now than ever before. It wasn't just about our fleeting moment but rather what it could lead to, a potential unraveling of lives intertwined by friendship and loyalty. I don't want to hurt anyone, I admitted, guilt creeping into my chest like ivy around an old tree. Neither do I, he replied earnestly. But we can't ignore how we feel. The conversation spiraled into discussions about our lives, the weight of expectations placed upon us and how easily they had become shackles binding our spirits down instead of lifting them up. With each revelation shared between us came clarity wrapped in confusion. It was exhilarating yet terrifying to confront these hidden truths together. As dusk settled around us like a comforting blanket, I sensed an unspoken understanding forming, a bond forged not merely through attraction but through shared experiences and unvoiced desires yearning for acknowledgement. Yet beneath this newfound connection lay echoes of caution whispering warnings against crossing boundaries drawn by circumstance and loyalty, reminders that choices made in moments of passion could have repercussions far beyond what either of us anticipated. I think we should take some time, I suggested hesitantly after a long pause filled with contemplation. To really think about everything. He nodded slowly again but looked conflicted, caught between desire and responsibility as if standing at a crossroads without clear signs pointing toward either path ahead. Yeah, he finally agreed reluctantly but with sincerity etched across his features. Time is probably best. With that decision hanging heavy above us like storm clouds ready to burst forth rain at any moment, we resumed walking in silence. Two souls navigating uncharted waters filled with both promise and peril as shadows danced around us under fading light illuminating paths leading back into everyday life awaiting beyond park's embrace. Days turned into weeks filled with stolen glances during gatherings where laughter mingled with tension simmering just below surface, the thrill lingering long after each encounter left me questioning everything once more. Was this fleeting connection worth risking all? Did these moments outweigh potential consequences waiting patiently on sidelines? I found myself caught between longing for something more vibrant than monotony while grappling fiercely against guilt, clawing at heartstrings woven tightly together by years spent nurturing friendships built upon trust now teetering precariously on brink betrayal. Lurking ominously nearby, threatening collapse should whispers reach ears, unprepared for truth hidden deep within shadows cast across lives intertwined too closely. Then came an invitation. A weekend trip to a secluded cabin by the lake organized by friends eager to escape city life for just a little while longer before summer slipped away completely into autumn's embrace, promising crisp air scented with nostalgia, beckoning memories waiting patiently beneath tranquil waters shimmering under moonlight, reflecting dreams long forgotten. "Are you going?" he asked casually one evening when chance brought us together at another gathering, filled laughter masking underlying tension shared only between two hearts burdened by secrets held close against chests aching, desperately seeking release from chains binding them down. "I don't know," I admitted honestly while biting back fears swirling within me like leaves caught in windstorm, threatening upheaval already brewing beneath surface, waiting anxiously for spark, ignite flames burning brightly, illuminating path forward, leading somewhere unknown yet undeniably alluring, pulling me closer toward temptation, whispering sweet promises enticing enough make even strongest resolve falter. "Maybe it'll help clear your head," he suggested lightly, though seriousness lingered behind, playful tone revealing depths hidden beneath casual facade, worn comfortably over time spent together navigating complexities life tossed our way, forcing both grapple difficult choices made along journeys traveled thus far, leading here standing precariously upon brink, possibility awaiting next step taken forward into unknown territory, ripe exploration beckoning brightly ahead, promising adventure awaiting just beyond horizon, shimmering invitingly, calling out names longing desperately answered. As days passed leading up trip, anticipation swirled inside me, excitement mingling unease, creating potent cocktail bubbling over, threatening spill forth, spilling secrets held tightly locked away until now, yearning release from confines created, walls built high around heart protecting fragile pieces still beating fiercely within chest, fighting against odds stacked heavily against them, yearning freedom found only when ventured outside comfort zones, stretching boundaries previously defined, allowing exploration, depths hidden deep within souls searching desperately, seeking solace away from lives lived too quietly, yearning more than ever before amidst chaos swirling around them both. The cabin stood nestled among towering pines, its rustic charm inviting yet intimidating. I stepped inside, the scent of cedar filling my lungs as I took in the cozy space. A fireplace dominated one wall, and the large windows overlooked the shimmering lake, its surface reflecting the early evening light. This place felt like a world apart from everything I had known, my mundane life, my distant husband, and the growing complexity of my emotions. He followed me in, closing the door softly behind him. The quiet enveloped us, a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in my mind. We exchanged glances that spoke volumes, a mixture of excitement and trepidation hung in the air. The decision to come here had been spontaneous, an impulsive escape from reality that both thrilled and terrified me. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. I hesitated, grappling with the weight of my actions. "I don't know," I admitted, feeling exposed under his gaze. "But I needed to get away from everything." He nodded slowly, understanding flickering in his eyes. The tension between us was palpable, it crackled like electricity waiting to ignite. As we settled into the cabin's warmth, we began to talk about life, about choices made and paths not taken. Hours slipped by as we shared stories that revealed our vulnerabilities. Laughter bubbled up unexpectedly at times. It felt good to connect on such an intimate level without judgment or pretense. With each passing moment, I felt more at ease and yet more conflicted about where this was heading. As night fell and shadows danced on the walls around us, we found ourselves drawn closer together. Our conversation shifted from light-hearted banter to deeper reflections on our lives, how we had both drifted into roles that no longer fit us. "I miss feeling alive," he confessed quietly, his eyes searching mine for understanding. His words struck a chord deep within me. Me too, I replied softly. It's like we're just going through the motions. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken truths and desires left unfulfilled. It was then that our proximity became charged with something more, a longing for connection that transcended friendship. In a moment of vulnerability and courage fueled by wine and shared confessions, he leaned closer. My heart raced as he brushed his fingers against my hand, a tentative touch that ignited something dormant within me. Before I could think twice about it or pull away out of fear or guilt, he closed the distance between us. We kissed. The world outside faded into nothingness as our lips met. It felt both exhilarating and terrifying all at once. The warmth spread through me like wildfire, as if every emotion I had buried came rushing to the surface. There was no turning back now. This moment held too much promise for what lay ahead. As we pulled apart moments later, breathless and wide-eyed with realization, clarity washed over me like a cold splash of water. This was real, and there were consequences waiting beyond these walls. We shouldn't, he started but trailed off as if unsure how to finish that thought without shattering what had just happened between us. I know, I replied quietly but firmly. Yet even as those words left my mouth, something deep inside urged me to embrace this newfound connection rather than shy away from it. The night unfolded slowly after that initial spark. We spent hours talking under blankets draped over us while soft rain tapped against the roof outside, the sound soothing yet ominous in its reminder of reality waiting beyond our temporary sanctuary. Eventually fatigue crept in despite our best efforts to stay awake. Sleepiness tugged at my eyelids until they grew heavy with exhaustion from emotional upheaval combined with physical weariness from travel earlier in the day. Let's get some rest, he suggested gently after glancing at the clock on the wall, its hands moving steadily forward toward morning light creeping closer with each passing minute. I nodded reluctantly but didn't want this night to end just yet, not when everything felt so profoundly different than before, so alive amidst uncertainty swirling around us both like smoke rising into darkened corners unseen until now. We spent the night together, wrapped in each other's warmth beneath layers of blankets piled high against chill creeping through cracks around window frames, a cocoon shielding us from outside world where responsibilities awaited impatiently lurking just beyond reach, where guilt would surely find its way back into thoughts once morning arrived bringing harsh light illuminating truths long hidden away. But for now? For now there was only this moment. The two of us entwined beneath stars twinkling softly overhead casting gentle glow across faces turned toward one another searching desperately seeking solace found only here within these four walls far removed from lives lived too quietly yearning more than ever before. Dawn broke quietly over lake's surface painting sky hues of orange mingling with lavender. A beautiful sight reminding me how fleeting moments can be even when they feel monumental unfolding right before eyes wide open taking everything in fully realizing nothing would ever be quite same again after tonight. As sunlight streamed through windows illuminating everything inside cabin revealing dust motes dancing lazily through air, I felt an unsettling shift within myself. A stirring realization creeping in alongside warmth radiating through body making heart race faster than before filling me with anticipation mixed dread all at once. What did this mean for us? What would happen when we returned home? Would things return to normal? Or had we crossed an invisible line forever altering course set forth long ago? Questions swirled around my mind threatening overwhelm as breakfast preparations began amidst silence hanging thick between us both filled only by sound cooking bacon sizzling on skillet while coffee brewed fragrant aroma wafting through air reminding me how ordinary life continued outside these walls even when extraordinary moments unfolded inside them. Do you think? He started hesitantly breaking silence hanging heavily between us but paused again searching for right words unsure how best articulate feelings bubbling up beneath surface yearning expression. I held my breath waiting anxiously wondering what revelation might follow next. Would he confess doubts lingering there too? Would he voice fears about what lay ahead? But then suddenly reality intruded upon fragile bubble surrounding us, it shattered abruptly, leaving shards scattered everywhere, cutting deeply into hearts already raw, exposed under weight choices made last night. Just then sudden knock echoed against door, breaking spell cast over everything, leaving only uncertainty lingering behind, once again reminding both how precarious balance maintained, always teetering on edge, ready fall into unknown depths awaiting discovery. The knock at the door lingered in the air, a stark reminder of reality's presence. My heart raced as I exchanged a glance with him, uncertainty swirling between us like the fog that often cloaked the lake in early mornings. I hesitated, caught between the need to hide and the impulse to confront whatever awaited me beyond that threshold. "Should I answer it?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The tension hung thick, every word felt weighted with unspoken fears. I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of our choices pressing down on me. He rose from the chair, his movements deliberate yet hesitant, as if he were stepping onto fragile ice. The knock came again, more insistent this time, and I could almost hear my heart pounding in sync with it. As he opened the door, a wave of cool air rushed in, carrying with it an unexpected visitor, an old friend from my college days, Claire. Her presence was a jolt to my system. We hadn't spoken in years. She stood there, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. "Hey," she said softly, her eyes darting between us before settling on me. "I hope I'm not interrupting." "No," I replied quickly, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. "Not at all." Claire stepped inside, her gaze lingering on him for just a moment too long before she turned back to me. "I sensed something was off when I saw your car parked here," she said lightly, but there was an undercurrent of seriousness in her tone. I swallowed hard. My mind raced with thoughts of how much to reveal. The truth loomed over me like an uninvited guest at a party, the kind you desperately hoped would leave before things got messy. "I'm fine," I said too quickly. "Just catching up." Claire's brow furrowed slightly as she studied me. "You don't look fine." Her honesty struck deep. It was refreshing yet painful all at once. I glanced at him. His face remained inscrutable, but behind that calm facade lay layers of complexity that mirrored my own turmoil. "Do you want to talk?" Claire asked gently as she settled into one of the chairs across from me. I hesitated again before nodding slowly. "Maybe." As we talked about mundane topics, old friends and memories, I could feel him retreating into silence beside me. It was strange how quickly our shared intimacy had transformed into something so fragile and distant in front of Claire's presence. But then Claire shifted gears unexpectedly. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "sometimes we get so caught up in what we think we're supposed to do that we forget what we truly want." Her words pierced through my defenses like arrows aimed straight at my heart. "Isn't that the truth?" he chimed in quietly, surprising both Claire and me. I shot him a glance filled with questions and unspoken fears. His acknowledgement felt like a crack forming in our carefully constructed facade. "I've been thinking about that lately," I admitted slowly, feeling vulnerable under their scrutiny. "About what I really want, what makes me happy." Claire leaned forward slightly, her eyes sparkling with interest. "And what is it?" The question hung heavily in the air as I searched for an answer that felt genuine amidst all this chaos swirling within me. How could I articulate feelings that had been buried for so long? "I don't know," I finally admitted, frustration creeping into my voice. "Everything feels so complicated right now." Claire nodded knowingly but didn't press further. Instead, she shifted back to lighter topics that allowed us to escape for brief moments from reality's grasp. But even as laughter filled the room intermittently during Claire's stories about college antics and mutual friends' lives unfolding without us, shadows loomed larger than life around us. The secrets hidden beneath surface smiles began to suffocate any sense of ease. Later that evening after Claire left, her parting words echoing softly in my mind, I turned toward him once more, feeling raw, exposed under scrutiny once again, but now mixed with something else, understanding. I didn't expect her to show up, he said quietly, breaking silence between us stretching longer than comfortable moments before finally speaking again, revealing cracks beneath surface calmness maintained until now. No, I replied softly, still processing everything shared during those hours together, which had somehow shifted dynamics between us even more than before, without any physical intimacy involved, just honest conversations revealing deeper truths than either anticipated. Facing head-on tonight. He sighed deeply, running fingers through hair while staring out window, lost within thoughts swirling around uncertainties ahead, awaiting discovery yet again. Moments passed slowly until finally breaking through silence forming around us. What are we doing? His question hung heavy, a weighty challenge lingering between us, demanding answers neither ready nor willing offered just yet. I wish I knew. The admission slipped out almost involuntarily, leaving vulnerability exposed even further than before, now standing bare beneath scrutiny, once more waiting patiently for response which never came, instead replaced by silence, thickening atmosphere surrounding both, hearts beating steadily against backdrop chaos unfolding around them. Days passed since Claire's visit, yet impact lingered heavily, casting shadows over everything else happening within life, surrounding choices made recently weighing heavily against conscience, struggling reconcile feelings emerging alongside newfound connections forged unexpectedly, a long way leading toward uncertain paths awaiting discovery ahead. My husband had grown increasingly distant too. Nights spent apart became routine rather than exception. His late work hours stretched longer, leaving gaps within marriage previously filled by shared laughter and simple pleasures enjoyed together, now replaced by quiet dinners spent alone or occasional texts exchanged, devoid warmth once present, binding two souls together, tightly intertwined throughout years shared, building foundations strong enough withstand storms life threw their way until now, when cracks began appearing everywhere, threatening collapse under pressure exerted daily. One evening, while sitting alone at kitchen table staring blankly down empty plate, void nourishment needed both physically emotionally alike, suddenly realization struck hard. Cracks weren't just appearing. They were widening rapidly, threatening everything built over decades, threatening collapse entirely, leaving nothing behind except memories fading away into darkness, obscuring light once shone brightly, illuminating path ahead, guiding steps forward toward brighter tomorrows, promised long ago. That night sleep eluded me completely as restless thoughts swirled endlessly through mind, grappling against uncertainty looming large overhead, demanding answers sought desperately yet remaining just out reach, always taunting, beckoning toward unknown depths, waiting patiently. Discover hidden truths buried deep beneath surface, longing emerge finally free from chains holding captive so long. In morning light spilling softly through window, illuminating kitchen where solitude reigned supreme amidst chaos surrounding life outside its walls. A decision formed, solidifying resolve deep within soul, yearning clarity amidst confusion reigning supreme, ruling every aspect existence experienced thus far, leading toward inevitable confrontation looming large ahead, awaiting discovery soon enough. The morning air was crisp, carrying whispers of change as I made my way to the kitchen. My husband, Mark, sat at the table, his eyes fixed on a newspaper that seemed to absorb all his attention. The silence stretched between us like a chasm, filled with unspoken words and unresolved tension. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. "Coffee?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded without looking up. The mundane act felt monumental today, as if each sip of coffee would fuel the impending conversation. I poured 2 cups and joined him at the table. The familiar clatter of the spoon against the ceramic mug echoed in the stillness. It was time to confront the truths that had been simmering beneath the surface for too long. "Mark," I began, hesitating as I searched for the right words. "We need to talk." He finally looked up, surprise flickering across his features before settling into a guarded expression. "About what?" "About us." The weight of those 2 words hung heavily in the air. "I feel like we've been drifting apart." His brow furrowed as he set down his cup. "What do you mean?" "Everything seems fine." "Does it?" My heart raced as I pressed on. "We hardly talk anymore." "You're always busy with work or, whatever else is taking your attention away from me. Mark shifted in his seat, discomfort evident in his posture. I've been focused on providing for us. I know, I replied softly, fighting against the swell of frustration rising within me. But it feels like you're not really here with me anymore. He sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair, a gesture that signaled both exhaustion and resignation. I guess I haven't been present lately. His voice softened, revealing vulnerability beneath his usual stoic demeanor. I've felt lonely, I admitted, my voice trembling slightly as raw emotions bubbled to the surface. And it's made me question everything about our life together. What do you mean by everything? He asked cautiously. I mean, our marriage. Each word felt like a stone dropped into still water, ripples expanding outward into uncertain territory. He stared at me for a moment before responding slowly, as if weighing each word carefully. What are you saying? Are you unhappy? Yes, I confessed, feeling lighter yet heavier all at once with this admission hanging between us like fog over Portland's waterfront. I thought we were just going through a phase, he said quietly. A phase? My voice rose slightly in disbelief. It's been years of distance. Mark. I need more than this. What do you want? His tone was firm but tinged with curiosity. I want to feel connected again, I replied earnestly. To feel seen and heard, loved. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms defensively over his chest while contemplating my words. A tension crackled in the air, a mix of fear and hope swirling around us like leaves caught in an autumn breeze. I didn't know you felt this way, he finally said after what felt like an eternity of silence. Because we don't communicate. The frustration seeped into my voice despite my attempts to remain calm. I thought everything was fine because we never talked about it, Mark countered defensively but then softened again when he saw my expression. Maybe we both have things we need to say, I suggested gently. Mark nodded slowly as if acknowledging a truth that had been buried deep within him too long, perhaps even longer than our own struggles began. We can try talking more, he offered hesitantly but with sincerity glimmering behind his eyes. That's all I ask for, I replied softly, relief flooding through me at this small step forward, a flicker of light breaking through clouds that had loomed overhead for so long. As we sipped our coffee in newfound companionship, an unspoken promise hanging between us, I couldn't shake off the nagging thoughts about Eric and what had transpired during our time together at that cabin by the lake. A part of me felt guilty for wanting more from my marriage when another part craved something deeper than mere companionship, a connection that transcended friendship or duty alone, something electric yet fragile lingering just out of reach no matter how hard I tried to grasp it tightly within my hands. The phone ringing shattered our momentary peace. Mark answered without hesitation while I stared out the window lost in thought about Eric, the man who had ignited emotions within me long buried under layers of routine living. When Mark hung up moments later, the frown etched across his features spoke volumes. It was clear something unsettling lurked beneath surface-level conversations spiraling out beyond control, once again threatening to unravel fragile threads holding our lives together tightly woven thus far. What happened? My heart raced with apprehension. Instinct told me this wasn't good news. It's Eric, he wants to meet up later today, Mark said cautiously while avoiding eye contact, tension crackling anew between us with every word spoken aloud now heavy laden with implications neither one could ignore any longer. My pulse quickened at hearing Eric's name, memories flooded back unbidden. The laughter shared over late-night conversations mixed with stolen moments filled with longing now resurfacing, forcing me face reality head-on once more, instead trying escape into fantasies spun from desires unmet. Why does he want to meet? My voice trembled slightly despite efforts to maintain composure amidst swirling chaos surrounding each revelation unfolding before us both, now threatening to tear apart everything familiar once held dear so tightly. He didn't say, just mentioned needing to talk about something important, Mark trailed off uncertainly. unease evident across every line etched upon face, reflecting turmoil brewing beneath surface hidden away too long, finally bubbling forth, demanding acknowledgement whether wanted or not. My mind raced as possibilities tumbled through. Was this about our connection? Did Eric sense something shifting? Or perhaps worse yet, did he know about what transpired between us during those stolen moments shared under stars shining brightly above? We should go together, Mark suggested, suddenly breaking through haze, enveloping thoughts swirling wildly around inside head, desperate grasp clarity amidst confusion reigning supreme, once more threatening drown out reason completely if left unchecked any longer. No. The refusal slipped out before fully processing implications behind such an invitation offered so innocently, yet fraught danger lurking just beneath surface, always waiting strike when least expected, catch unaware, leaving devastation trail behind. We can't. My heart pounded fiercely against ribcage, echoing fears rising higher than ever before, threatening consume entirely, leaving nothing but ashes behind, remnants past lives lived, trapped forever, lost shadows cast upon memories fading swiftly away into darkness looming ahead, obscuring path forward, illuminating bright future waiting patiently, discover hidden truths buried deep within soul yearning, emerge finally free from chains holding captive so long. No. The refusal slipped out before fully processing the implications behind such an invitation offered so innocently, yet fraught with danger lurking just beneath the surface. My heart pounded fiercely against my ribcage, echoing fears rising higher than ever before, threatening to consume me entirely. We can't, I managed to say, my voice trembling slightly. The weight of what lay ahead pressed down on me like a heavy fog, obscuring the path forward. I could sense the tension in the air, thick and palpable. My best friend, Sarah, stood before me with a mix of concern and disbelief etched across her features. Why not? She challenged softly, her eyes searching mine for answers that felt elusive. You deserve to be happy, don't you? Her words hung in the air, a question that reverberated through my mind like a haunting melody. Did I deserve happiness? In this moment, surrounded by the aftermath of my choices, I wasn't so sure. I'm just confused, I admitted, glancing away to avoid her penetrating gaze. Everything feels so tangled. Sarah stepped closer, her presence warm and grounding. You're not alone in this, she reassured me. We all struggle with our choices. But did they truly understand? I thought about the nights spent in quiet desperation while my husband remained oblivious to my inner turmoil. The laughter shared with 3 men who had unknowingly filled voids within me but also deepened my confusion. Can we talk about it? Sarah's voice broke into my thoughts gently. I nodded slowly, unsure of how much to reveal. It's just complicated. Complicated how? She pressed further. Taking a deep breath, I decided to share more than I ever had before. I've been seeing someone. It's not just casual. The words slipped out hesitantly as if admitting a sin. Her eyes widened slightly but softened quickly as she processed what I said. Who? I hesitated again but felt an inexplicable urge to be honest with her. My best friend deserved that much at least. It's Mark, I confessed quietly. A long silence followed as Sarah absorbed this revelation. Mark was her husband. My connection with him had grown unexpectedly deep during our clandestine meetings over coffee and laughter that turned into something more profound, a bond forged in shared vulnerability. I can't believe you, she started but halted herself mid-sentence as if realizing the weight of her words could shatter our friendship into pieces too sharp to mend. I didn't plan for any of this, I rushed to explain. It just happened. Does he know? She asked cautiously. Yes, I replied reluctantly. He knows how I feel. And what about your husband? Her voice was barely above a whisper now. The question struck me hard. It was one thing to navigate my feelings but another entirely to confront the reality of my marriage, one built on years of familiarity yet devoid of passion or connection lately. I don't know what he knows, I admitted finally, feeling vulnerable under Sarah's gaze. He seems distant too. As silence enveloped us once again, I pondered how our lives had intertwined so intricately yet precariously over the years, friendship layered with unspoken secrets and emotions left unaddressed. "Do you love him?" Sarah asked suddenly, breaking through my thoughts like a sudden gust of wind rustling leaves on a still day. "I don't know." The frustration spilled from me uncontrollably now as emotions surged forth like an untamed river bursting its banks. "I crave connection, something more than what we have." Sarah studied me intently before speaking again. "You need clarity." Her tone shifted from concern to determination as if she were rallying for an unseen battle ahead. "Clarity?" "Yes. You need to figure out what you really want before it all spirals out of control." Her eyes locked onto mine firmly as if willing me to understand the gravity of her words. But clarity seemed elusive amidst swirling emotions and desires battling within me, a chaotic storm brewing that threatened everything familiar in its wake. The evening wore on without resolution lingering in the air between us until finally Sarah spoke again. "Let's take some time apart from each other, just until you sort things out." The suggestion surprised me. It felt both necessary and terrifying at once, a chance for reflection amid uncertainty but also a risk of losing one another during this tumultuous period in our lives. "Okay," I agreed slowly despite unease settling deep within me like an unwelcome guest refusing to leave after overstaying its welcome. As we parted ways that night under dim streetlights illuminating our paths homeward separately yet connected by invisible threads binding us together still, I couldn't shake off feeling caught between two worlds, one filled with comfort yet devoid of passion, another vibrant yet fraught with consequences waiting patiently around every corner ready to unveil themselves at any moment without warning. Days passed after our conversation. Each day dragged on while uncertainty loomed larger than life itself, casting shadows over everything familiar, a constant reminder lurking just beyond reach beckoning me closer toward reckoning ahead. Then came that fateful evening when Mark invited me once more to his cabin by the lake where laughter echoed sweetly against tranquil waters reflecting stars overhead shimmering brightly like dreams waiting patiently for realization amidst darkness surrounding them. The moment felt surreal as if stepping into another realm entirely where reality blurred lines between right and wrong leaving only raw emotions exposed beneath fragile surface yearning desperately for acknowledgement. Once there surrounded by nature's beauty enveloping us both, our laughter mingled effortlessly transforming mundane moments into cherished memories woven together seamlessly creating tapestry rich with colors vibrant enough rival any sunset painting skies ablaze. But beneath surface joy simmered tension palpable enough nearly tangible urging confrontation lurking just beneath facade crafted carefully over time protecting fragile hearts beating wildly beneath layers unspoken truths desperately seeking freedom from chains, holding captive far too long. And then it happened? The moment arrived when everything shifted irrevocably forever altering course set forth long ago unraveling tightly woven threads binding past present future together into single tapestry now fraying dangerously at edges threatening collapse under weight carried too long without care or attention paid toward necessary repairs required restore balance lost somewhere along way. "What are we doing here?" Mark asked suddenly breaking silence wrapping around us both tightly like embrace refusing release even though needed desperately now more than ever before facing realities long avoided until this very moment arrived demanding acknowledgement finally laid bare before us both raw unfiltered honesty spilling forth without restraint leaving nothing hidden anymore. "We need clarity," I whispered back feeling vulnerability wash over me anew flooding senses awakening dormant feelings buried deep beneath layers constructed protectively shielding hearts from pain inflicted through choices made previously without thought given consequences attached, inevitably following every decision taken along winding path leading here tonight standing together facing unknown future stretching endlessly beyond horizon painted bright hues hope lingering faintly within grasp. Still despite uncertainties looming large overhead casting shadows threatening darkened skies once illuminated brightly only moments prior. Mark stepped closer, searching eyes meeting mine, searching desperately for answers sought quietly hidden away, begging release, finally allowing truths emerge unencumbered, revealing depths longing explored, never ventured forth until now, risking everything left behind shattered. Pieces scattered, windswept shores, memories fading swiftly away, carried off currents, never returning again, leaving behind only echoes, remnants, past lives lived, caught forever, suspended time drifting aimlessly through space. Longing, connection lost forevermore, unless choices made tonight lead somewhere new altogether, unforeseen pathways waiting, discovery, hidden depths waiting, exploration beckoning boldly forward into unknown territories, stretching far beyond limits imagined. Previously confined, safely within boundaries drawn carefully, protecting fragile hearts, guarding against heartache, faced bravely onward despite fears rising high, threatening, consume completely, leaving nothing behind except ashes, remnants past. Lives lived trapped forever, lost, shadows cast upon memories fading swiftly away into darkness, looming ahead, obscuring path forward, illuminating bright future waiting, patiently discover hidden truths buried deep within soul, yearning emerge finally free from chains holding captive so long. The lake shimmered under the late afternoon sun, casting reflections that danced across the water's surface. I stood on the dock, my heart racing as I replayed the events of the past few weeks in my mind. Each moment felt like a thread woven into a tapestry of confusion and longing. The laughter shared with the men, the stolen glances, and the electric tension with my best friend's husband all led to this pivotal moment. As I waited for him to arrive, I could feel the weight of my choices pressing down on me. The serenity of the lake was a stark contrast to the turmoil within. I had sought clarity, but instead, I found myself entangled in emotional chaos. The air was thick with anticipation, every sound seemed amplified, the rustle of leaves, the gentle lapping of water against wood. When he finally appeared, his silhouette outlined against the setting sun sent a shiver through me. There was something both comforting and unsettling about his presence. We exchanged brief pleasantries, but beneath them lay an unspoken tension that crackled like static electricity. "I didn't think you'd come," I said softly, breaking the silence that had settled between us. "I needed to see you," he replied, his voice steady yet laced with uncertainty. We walked side by side down the dock, each step echoing our shared history and uncharted future. The memories of our time together rushed back, our secret conversations in quiet corners, and those moments when our connection deepened unexpectedly. Every laugh we shared felt like an escape from reality, every touch lingered long after it ended. "Do you ever think about what we're doing?" he asked suddenly, stopping to face me. I hesitated, searching for words that wouldn't betray my inner conflict. "Sometimes it feels right," I admitted finally. "But then there's guilt." He nodded slowly, understanding etched across his features. "We've crossed lines we can't uncross." The truth hung heavily between us as we gazed out at the water's edge. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting hues of orange and pink across the lake, a beautiful distraction from our reality. But beauty couldn't mask what loomed ahead, choices had consequences. "We need to talk," he said abruptly, breaking my reverie. "About what?" My heart raced as I braced for his words. "About us, about everything." His eyes bore into mine with an intensity that made it hard to breathe. Before I could respond, he stepped closer. "I can't keep pretending this is just fun anymore." His confession sent a ripple through me, fear mixed with exhilaration. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we can't ignore what's happening between us." He took a deep breath as if steeling himself for what came next. "I care about you." The admission hung in the air like a fragile promise waiting to be broken or fulfilled. My pulse quickened at his words, they were both a balm and a burden. "And your wife?" I whispered, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. "She doesn't know me anymore," he replied quietly, pain flickering in his gaze. "And neither do I." For a moment, silence enveloped us again as we stood at the precipice of something profound yet terrifying, a choice that could change everything. You're my best friend's husband, I reminded him gently but firmly. He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. I know. But it feels wrong to deny what we have. My thoughts raced back to our last encounter, the warmth of our shared laughter and those moments when our lips met unexpectedly under starry skies. It felt intoxicating then, now it seemed fraught with peril. What are you saying? I asked cautiously. I'm saying, maybe we should stop pretending this is just friendship. His voice was low but resolute. The weight of his words settled heavily upon me as realization washed over us both. We were standing at a crossroads where paths diverged sharply into unknown territories filled with potential heartache or newfound freedom. I don't know if I can do this, I admitted reluctantly, torn between desire and loyalty. He stepped even closer now, his eyes searching mine for answers neither of us had yet found. What if we tried? Before I could respond, he reached out and took my hand gently in his own, an invitation wrapped in vulnerability that stirred something deep within me. But just then, a distant sound shattered our moment, a familiar voice calling out from behind us on the shore, "There you are." My heart sank as I turned to see my best friend approaching with an air of casual confidence that belied her growing suspicions about where her husband often disappeared to during weekends by the lake. "What are you two doing here?" she asked cheerfully but with an edge that hinted at underlying tension. Caught off guard by her sudden appearance and probing question left no room for deception or half-truths. Shame washed over me like cold water splashing against warm skin, invigorating yet jarring all at once. "We were just talking," he replied quickly but not convincingly enough to mask urgency lacing his tone, a plea for understanding hanging unspoken between us three adults caught in this tangled web spun from desire and secrecy woven tightly around fragile hearts yearning for connection beyond mere companionship offered by marriage vows made long ago under different skies filled with dreams now faded into shadows cast upon memories lost forevermore. As she approached closer still, her expression shifting from friendly curiosity into something sharper, I faced an undeniable truth. There would be no easy escape from this moment or its consequences lurking just beneath surface calmness surrounding our gathering here tonight. And so stood three lives poised precariously on brink, decisions made without forethought before cascading downward toward inevitable reckoning awaiting each one come dawn breaking bright across horizon painting skies anew.